the Hungarians.
We have beautiful people, beautiful architecture, good food, conservative safe space. That's also important for many people. So, come and visit us.
So you've come all this way to America. You're one of the top advisors to a leader that the people here in this room really respect, the people around the country respect, Viktor Orban. You're in the middle of everything now, trying to stop a war, trying to change what Brussels tries to do to ruin people's lives. What's your message for America? Do you feel hope about how our collaboration, starting with CPAC, moving on to Orban and Trump, how this collaboration can change the world?
I think my message would be America is back, is a good news, and don't rely on the liberals, and don't count on the liberals. You have your friends all around the world, and if you find your friends, work with them together and save the Western civilization together. This would be my message.
Are you up to the challenge? Balázs Orbán, thank you for being with us at CPAC. Thanks for the important work you do. And thanks for making Hungary great.
Thank you. God bless.
Thanks.
I switched.
I switched.
I switched.
I made the switch to Newsmax.
We start this morning in Washington, where all eyes are on the White House.
I switched to Newsmax.
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 Have you made the switch?
You bet I did.
My whole family switched.
Everyone is making the switch. I did.
I did.
I switched, and it made all the difference.
It made all the difference.
Have you made the switch? You should.
Millions are switching to Newsmax. You should too.
Every institution today is under attack. The home, the church, the government. And many people are asking, what is the truth? Jesus Christ claimed to be ultimate truth. Are you willing to face the truth?
Do you think the MKUltra project ever actually ended?
The Central Intelligence Agency is actively involved in mind manipulation.
We all answer to one God and one Savior, and He's there to change your life for the better.
Every institution today is under attack. The home, the church, the government. And many people are asking, what is the truth? Jesus Christ claimed to be ultimate truth. Are you willing to face the truth?
Do you think the MKUltra project ever actually ended?
The Central Intelligence Agency is actively involved in mind manipulation.
We all answer to one God and one Savior, and He's there to change your life for the better.
Hey everyone, it's Matt Schlapp with CPAC. You know, CPAC isn't just a conference. We're fighting 365 days a year on all the issues you care about. Please go to your badge. There's a QR code. Check it out and see the different centers we have at CPAC, whether it's fighting anti-Semitism or corporate responsibility or raiding members of Congress or state legislators or criminal justice reform. You name it, we're into it, and check it out right now.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
President Trump is back in the White House.
Donald Trump has won the presidency.
Donald Trump has taken back America.
I actually started quite a while ago in CPAC, and I enjoyed it so much that I came back for a second one, then a third, then I said, what the hell, let's run for president. Matt said, it's like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. He says, you should run for politics. He's the one who said you should run. For the presidency of the United States.
It is my honor to introduce to CPAC 2017, our president, Donald Trump.
First of all, I want to thank Matt Schlapp and his very, very incredible wife and boss, Mercedes, who have been fantastic friends and supporters, and so great when I watch them on television defending me. Nobody has a chance. I love this place. Love you people. You never stop fighting for America, and I will never, ever stop fighting for you. We know that there are still more records to be shattered, new summits to be scaled, more triumphs to be realized, and more amazing history just waiting to be written. The American adventure has only just begun. God bless America, and we will see you next year. Thank you very much. You never stop fighting for America, and I will never, ever stop fighting for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to say their names. Israeli hostage families speak. Please welcome father of Idan Alexander, Adi Alexander, brother-in-law of Omir Moran, Moshe Lavi, Nova Music Festival survivor and brother of Guy Dalal, Gal Dalal, hosted by CPAC Senior Fellow, Mercedes Schlapp.
Vamos.
Thank you all so much. You know, this is a very difficult subject, and I see someone in the crowd, Julie Levin. Stand up, look, Julie. Julie Levin, Mark Levin's wife, but just a leader in this issue of being a voice for the Jewish people, for the suffering that we have seen, the tragedies that we have witnessed against innocent lives. And these brave men have come here to deliver a somber message, but it's also a message of hope, a message of urgency, a message of action that we need to take. And here at CPAC, we all, a CPAC family, first we stand with your families. When you are in pain, when you are suffering, we are suffering with you, and we are praying for each and every one of you. And to start this, Gal, I want to start with you. You were at the Nova Music Festival that day on October 7th.
Yes.
Tell us what happened.
First of all, I start with thank you, Mercedes, and thank you, all of you, for being here, supporting us, and thank you for having us. The Nova Festival had almost 5,000 people in it, more than 20 nationalities. It was like a gathering of all sorts of different people from all sorts of different cultures. People went to celebrate life, spiritual people. It was a spiritual festival. And the people who were kidnapped from them had nothing to do with this conflict, had nothing to do with this war, and they should have never used as a currency in this war. I went to this festival because it was my brother's first festival ever.
And it's your younger brother.
It's my baby brother, yeah. And he never went to any of these kinds of festivals. So I encouraged him actually to go to this kind of festival because I knew that it's going to be a good one. And he asked me to come with him to join him in his experience and to watch over him. And that was the only reason I went. And I arrived there pretty early in the morning. And 15 minutes after I arrived, the alarms already went off. And I asked my brother if he wanted to come to my house with his friends, and they all agreed to come to my apartment. And I asked him if he wanted to join me in my car. And he said that he don't want his friends to feel like he left them, so he's going to go back with them, and he see me at home. I think like 30 minutes later, the terrorists start shooting on us. It was a massive round of shooting. It came from all around us. We had to leave our cars and run away, and I haven't seen my brother ever since.
When that happened, tell us about the moment when you realized, oh my goodness, he's been taken.
So after almost 10 hours of fleeing, running and hiding, while terrorists shooting on me with gunshots and RPGs, rockets. I was finally able to get rescued by our forces. And they took us to the nearest police station. This is where I called my father. And my father sounded broken. And I said to him, look, if something happened to my brother, you need to let me know. And that's when he told me that my brother was kidnapped and that Hamas was already published a hostage video 3 hours before I was even able to escape, which meant that my parents, my family, everyone knew that my brother was taken, but no one told me, so I can focus on saving my own life.
So they saw the video, your parents saw the video first.
Yeah, and I saw it when, I saw it after I was rescued, and all I could think about is that I went there to watch over him, and I went back without him. I just couldn't realize it. It took me a while.
How are you getting through day by day?
It's a whole process for us, the families of the hostages. Every day, it's another struggle. But we always have on our minds that our hostages, our loved ones, they suffer much more. When we think about the pain that they have to endure while still in captive, we get strength and we get the power to do everything we can to help them. I know that my brother would do exactly the same for me, and we have to stay strong for them for when they will come back.
Moshe, your brother-in-law.
Thank you.
Omri. He has a wife, Lishai, and 2 beautiful girls. What happened?
On October the 7th, Hamas terrorists barged into my sister Lishai and Omri's home. They used a teenager from the kibbutz, Tomer Arava, to lure them to open the door. And they opened it immediately to save Tomer's life. Tomer was found dead a few days later, his body in a field. But Omri and Lishai knew that they were opening the door to terrorists to save his life. For hours, they were held captive in their own home. My niece Roni was awakened with a gun pointed at her face, terrorists surrounding her. She was 2.5 years old back then. They were then grouped with another family in the kibbutz, the Dan family, whose eldest daughter, Mayan, was murdered. They were abused for hours. It was live streamed on Facebook. The terrorists took a phone of one of the captives and simply live streamed it on their Facebook account. And then at around 1:30 p.m., Omri was handcuffed. Lishai told him she loves him, she'll take care of the girls, and asked him not to be a hero. He told her he loves her, and that was the last time she saw him. Roni, my niece, tried to run to him. Lishai stopped her, luckily. And ever since, Omri has been a hero. For 503 days, he's been a hero in captivity, fighting for survival, while we are fighting here to returning home. I'm lucky because my sister Nisa survived, my parents survived, my other sister and her family survived. All experienced October the 7th while I was in New York. But being lucky means you have a hostage in your family that you need to fight for.
When Lishai called you, what did she tell you?
We discovered Lishai was rescued that evening, Israel time, the night. She was rescued 11 hours after the attack started by the IDF. After Omri was taken, she was held captive for a few more hours in that home. We talked for the first time a day later, the entire family on WhatsApp. We did a video call, and it was so difficult. By that time, my parents were rescued, my other sister was rescued, and luckily Shai and the girls were rescued. And we tried to understand what's going on, what do we need to do, where is Omri? And for the next couple of days, we discussed what do we need to do. I wanted to return to Israel to serve in the army. I was a captain in the IDF. But then my sister told me, I need you to be my soldier in this war until Omri comes home. I need you to speak up because there are very few people who can speak up for me and for Omri like you can. And since that day, I've been her voice. I've been Omri's voice. I've been every single hostage voice because they can't speak from the dungeons of Hamas. They are chained, they are starved, they're deprived of water, sanitation, sunlight. They're calling for the rescue, and we have to make sure to bring them home, like Vice President J.D. Vance said. Irrespective of other issues, there is one priority right now. Let's not sign more death certificates. Let's make sure all the hostages who are alive return home, and those who were murdered in captivity, like those who will return today and broke our heart, will be buried in the land of Israel.
Adi, your son, the oldest of three. Yeah. Idan, the only living American right now in captivity. How are you feeling? I mean, how are you processing this every day as a father?
You know, I'm just thinking about the place that my kids grew up in, which is Rockville, Maryland, not far away from this hotel. And we moved to New Jersey back in 2008. It's really hard. I mean, Idan is an all-American kid, Tenafly High School graduate, decided on a gap year to enlist himself to IDF, and because he loved both of his countries. And this is what he did. On that tragic day, he found himself on a tiny outpost next to Kibbutz Nir Oz, and he was the only soldier at this post. And the post was attacked, heavily attacked. He was surrounded by more than 20 militants. And after conducting a short fight, he found a way to surrender. So we kind of consider ourselves lucky that he managed to surrender. And ever since, you know, he was seen in the tunnels right at the beginning. And then Hamas released this hostage video on Thanksgiving's weekend when we saw Idan speaking. We saw him well. He was pale. He wasn't himself, but he was alive. And this is what's important for us, and this is what drives us forward.
Gal, 69 hostages have been released. 6, I believe, now it's coming up on Saturday. We've seen the tragedy of the Bibas family, the 2 beautiful children, the mother, and we've all seen those photos. What is your message to the leaders out there, the international leaders out there, who are just not stepping up to put pressure on Hamas to release these release these hostages right now?
We have been waiting for so long to see hostages returning. And for almost 500 days, we waited for the second deal to come. And as soon as Trump started his role as the President of the United States, you could see hostages start to return. And I think that's because Trump knows evil and good. Trump can see, you mentioned the Bibas, little babies should have never used, taken as hostages, used as a currency in a war. That's just unimaginable evil. And for that we thank him. And I think that the world is looking at what's going on in the United States, and we believe that with him, we will get to see all the other hostages. But the thing is that we are grateful for all the lives that he saved already, but there are still many lives that are waiting to be saved. And I would say, don't forget about the hostages. Yeah.
This goes, Moshe, beyond a political issue. This is a humanity issue. And you've seen President Trump involved personally in this process, but the reality is, and you said this, you said that the fight against the Islamic terrorists, it's a long-term struggle, but there's this urgency to get these hostages released right now. I mean, how do you just describe this message to those out there so that the world can unite in saving these hostages?
I'll say that our struggle against Hamas, their accomplices, their funders and sponsors, members of the United Nations, is long-term. And we will finish that long-term struggle and be victorious. But for us as a society, to be victorious, to protect our social contract, our national and Jewish ethos, we have to bring home the hostages. It's a humanitarian issue. It's an international issue. Hostages from so many countries were kidnapped, of several faiths who were kidnapped and are still held. Omri is a dual national, Israeli and Hungarian, and I can say the Hungarian government has stood behind us since the beginning. And so does the United States government. I'm so appreciative and grateful for President Trump's leadership, and I'm certain he knows that what needs to be happening now is that all the hostages must be freed. We have to keep demanding that Hamas let them go, but making sure that we make the concessions needed to bring them home in the short term.
Adi, you've spoken to President Trump multiple times. What does he tell you?
President Trump is a very tough guy, he's a smart guy. At the beginning, when we first met, before he took office, he was shocked by the fact that 45 Americans were killed on that day, on October 7th. To account anything like this, really, other than September 11, you have to go back to 80s. And ever since we met him, he took ownership on this matter, recognizing that Americans are still being held and 45 Americans killed, and we're really grateful for that. But we have to push forward until everybody's out. No tips and drips, bunch of them out, like hopefully this Saturday, and then we will be done.
Just to wrap up here, Gal, what do you want to tell our people here at CPAC? How can we support you and your family?
So we always say that we need your prayers and we need your actions. Don't forget the hostages. Don't forget that they are waiting for you. Everyone can do something, and we all have the responsibility to do all we can to bring them back. And together we will.
Adi, your message to what you want to know, how we can be helpful for you and your family as well.
Just keep this issue front and center. Keep praying. Really, this is the time to pray. We're in the middle of this process. Hopefully, we will be successful to pass it over the finish line with President Trump's help, leadership, and Steve Witkoff's knowledge and leadership as well. Just keep praying, guys.
Moshe.
I'll ask all this amazing audience to close your eyes and imagine with me my nieces Ronnie and Alma running to their father Omri. Imagine my sister Lishai hugging and kissing her husband Omri. Imagine Dani, Omri's father, shaving his beard after hundreds of days and embracing his son Omri. And take that joy of picturing that to mobilize in every way you can, prayer, action, rallying, writing, so that I could tell my nieces, Ronnie and Alma, that their father is coming home tomorrow.
I do want to say we spent time with Noah, who is here. She's one of the freed hostages who was in captivity for over 200 days. And let me tell you something. This young woman is recovering from major trauma, and she's putting her trauma aside to be a voice for the rest of the hostages. So that is such a brave woman right there. And these are brave men who are being so strong for their families and for the Jewish people. And we here have an obligation to make sure we give them the love, the support, the prayers, and make sure that these hostages come back home. Thank you. Thank you for being with us at CPAC. You all really inspire us. And yes, we're going to bring the people back home. We're going to bring the hostages back home. We are going to stand with you, stand with your families, and ensure that we can start healing and start moving forward. Thank you so much. God bless.
Ladies and gentlemen, up next, BlackRock's Life Matters, crushing woke boardrooms. Please welcome U.S. Representative from West Virginia, Representative Riley Moore, co-founder and president of Patriot Mobile, Glenn Story, CEO of Morris Industries, Nate Morris, and your host from Newsmax, Bianca Della Garza.
Thank you. How's it going, CPAC?
All right.
Well, we are so thrilled to be here, and I just had a little backstage convo with these guys. Patriots, entrepreneur, visionaries, and they are going to be so enlightening. So I'm pleased to be here. And I know we just heard all the introductions, but Congressman Moore, Glenn Story, the CEO of Patriot Mobile. If you don't have his cell service, we're gonna change you today on that. And Nate Morris, really incredible stories. So let's start a little bit with you, Congressman Riley Moore, because West Virginia is the 5th largest energy producer. And people were looking at what was going on, and you were the treasurer before you were in Congress, and way before it was popular, you actually took on BlackRock, you took on JP Morgan, you took on all these big banks and said you need to divest. You basically said you're fired. Tell us about the circle that was going on in your state that made no common sense.
Well, thank you very much. And yes, for us in West Virginia, it was really an existential threat for us to continue to deal with these financial institutions that had an ESG framework that was so harmful to our industries, coal, natural gas, and oil. And so what I did was start to talk to some of our coal producers, natural gas, and the like, and they were losing access to financing. They couldn't continue their operations because no one would bank them. They were essentially being debanked. And we had folks like BlackRock and the other big three that were moving investment away from these critical industries that just so happen to power the country and are also so important to the state of West Virginia. So in 2021, I sent letters to them warning them if they didn't stop this activity, that we were going to divest out of them, and they ignored those warnings. And then in January of 2022, it's a little while ago now, I became the first elected official in the United States to divest our tax dollars out of BlackRock entirely. Thank you. And then we took it a step further and created what's called the Restricted Financial Institution List, which had said if you're boycotting the fossil fuel industry, you're going to lose the ability to be able to bid on any financial service contract in the state of West Virginia. And that's where we ended up putting a lot of other banks on that list, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, Citi, a whole bunch of other guys, and we had to tear up a lot of contracts, tens of millions of dollars.
We'll get back to that. And fortunately, you had the vision to do that. Nate, walk us through when you were in your early stages. You started your company on a credit card. You said with 10 grand, you took it public, $700 million, and you had to battle the woke, well, you called it like the Sopranos. I'll let you tell that.
Well, you know, first I want to say, you know, I'm Nate Morris. I'm a Kentuckian. I'm a 9th generation Kentuckian. I'm an entrepreneur, and I believe entrepreneurship is the cornerstone to our country. It's how jobs get created. And we had a big announcement this morning, come out of Kentucky. Mitch McConnell said he's retiring.
Woo! The little breaking news here.
So I don't know if anyone's heard that yet. And, you know, a lot of people have encouraged me to look at the seat. And I just want to speak as an entrepreneur. I'm an outsider. I'm a businessman. And I think we need more people coming from the outside to help President Trump with the America First agenda. Yep. And for conservatives, this is our opportunity to rip control that Mitch McConnell has had on the Republican Party and aspects of our party and taken us down this direction. And he has tried to purposely sabotage President Trump over and over and over again. This is our chance to get it back and give it back to the people.
Amen.
Well, I do think, obviously, the country is on a fortunate and trajectory with this election. We can all feel it as we're here, as we're walking in the halls, we're exchanging ideas. I wrote a book last year called Incoming, on the front lines of the left's war on truth, because what we saw was the Marxist professors indoctrinating kids, and then they'd go into these woke corporate boardrooms, and this was a circle that fortunately we've been able to break with this historic election. And I think we all look at Donald Trump as not just our president of this country, but also somebody, a visionary who will take us into an America in the golden age. And, you know, your story, Glenn, is amazing. Patriot Mobile is based on Christian values. And that's something a lot of people, after we witnessed Butler, Pennsylvania, really are coming back to their faith in this country. And Patriot Mobile is based on that. And it's a very unique model, and you are thriving under that model.
Yeah, we absolutely are. And before I go there, I just want to say thank you to Matt and Mercy and the CPAC staff and leadership to do what you guys do, to bring the most important conservatives together and just raise each other up. But to answer your question, yeah, Patriot Mobile is a cell phone service provider. We carve out a portion of every bill and donate back to biblical causes. But what really separates Patriot Mobile is we're 100% US-based customer service. Our donation patterns it's a great thing. But most importantly, we put God first. He is at the helm of our business. Yeah. He's at the helm of our business. And when he's at the helm of your business, it just changes the landscape, right? You know you can't do wrong. And, you know, we live by these biblical principles, and we make these donation patterns back to organizations like Right to Life, military and first responders, First Amendment and Second Amendment. You look at those are really constitutional, biblically driven objectives or initiatives. So
yeah. And when you are thriving, you can take that money and do good with it. And I mentioned, Nate, that you went public with your company, and after you had been dealing, tell us a little bit about what you saw. You said it was a very innovative company, but you had to deal with people you thought they were like the mob in Sopranos. You thought ESG, they came in, it was even worse.
Yeah, let me tell you, I thought I saw extortion in the waste business, like we did with Tony Soprano. The extortion I saw in the waste business is nothing compared to what ESG terrorists due to corporate leaders every day, forcing them into positions and threatening to bankrupt their company if they do not adhere to these bogus, crazy standards. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so compelled to look at getting into politics, because we, as corporate leaders, we have to fight. We have to fight this. One of the first things I did when I left my company was invest in Strive, Vivek Ramaswamy's anti-woke investment platform, to say we're going to stand up to this and we're going to fight back. And we're going to make sure that politics stays out of business and gets centered around merit and what the market should reward, period.
Great message.
You know, their ultimate goal is to silence us, right? That was their goal.
Good luck, right?
And we won't be silenced, right?
No. And I think that's part of the, you know, we look at J.D. Vance and Peter Thiel when they invested in Rumble. We look at Newsmax. We're soaring. And it's because Americans truly have woken up. But now there's a higher demand on our elected leaders. And fortunately, Donald Trump, Doge is making a lot of advances. Maybe we're all even going to get a rebate from what they're saving. But Congressman Moore, I know, I like that. You know what it's like being in politics and being in Congress now. People are going to be held accountable. He's talking about Mitch McConnell officially announcing, but their old guard has been put on notice. Can you talk about that, since you were at the forefront of sort of putting ESG and BlackRock on notice?
Well, yeah, and I'll tell you, I got a lot of calls when I first divested from BlackRock, which is 3 years ago now, and most of it was, Riley, you're an idiot. Why are you doing this? Why are you even messing with this? And ESG is such an existential threat, I mean, to our capitalist system here in America, as we were just hearing right now. It's an extortion racket. But look, this party now is the party of Donald Trump. That is very clear. It's an America First movement. That's where the Republican Party is going. And we got to make sure that we stay on that trajectory, right? And we've seen this time and time again, where we will have America First policies that go and die in the United States Senate. That happens all the time. You know, clearly I'm in for the one big beautiful bill in reconciliation, and so is President Donald Trump, because that's the way we're going to accomplish his agenda. But, you know, perhaps it looks like the Senate might be moving a piece of their legislation forward. We've got to be unified under the president and execute on his 77 million vote mandate that he has.
I agree. So that's how Washington works. And, you know, as a member of the national media and hearing the stories of rural Americans, some of them really did feel left behind. I mean, you have cell service. You look at the people ravaged by hurricanes, and FEMA wouldn't even help people with Trump signs. Starlink wanted to come in, and they said, well, if you don't have an address, they're like, these people lost their homes. It was almost at one point the government was weaponized. We were seeing it in real time against these poor people. And you had this really kind of amazing thing you said, and obviously you're very successful, but you said you know who your roots are. And when the left wants to laugh at conservative values, or they want to smear us, or they want to silence us, you have a beautiful message, Glenn, and I'd love for you to share it with this amazing crowd.
You know, what really happens when it boils down to, you got to stay with your roots, right? You know what you're doing, and if you let them silence you, they've won. And I always say, no, right? We're going to stand in the forefront. We're going to be bold in what we do, regardless if it's out there. You know, I'll digress momentarily. I was on a call with the party chair of Georgia, and I said, hey, dude, how's it going? And he goes, it's miserable. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, our hurricane east of 75 is destroyed. So Friday at 4 o'clock, I called a couple of our executive team, Scott Coburn, and I said, hey, look, we need to fill up a trailer. We've got a 26-foot trailer. We've got a 1-ton truck.
It's amazing.
Let's fill this thing up with generators, wipes, diapers, baby formula. You just go down the list. Here's the most amazing thing. I couldn't go. I had some family stuff to do, but a couple of our staff did. And what was amazing about this is they drove out. They were giving stuff out to people that needed it. They haven't had anything. And the law said you got to turn left, and our driver goes, no, we're going to go straight. So they went straight. Now, this is a grown man, a professional soccer player. A woman was standing on the side of the road, and so he says, let's pull over. And they got out of the car, and Ethan's sitting down there somewhere. They got out of the car, And she goes, you know what? The only thing I need is diapers and wipes. I just said, Lord, please deliver. So they pull over, and you know what? We had crates and diapers and wipes. And this is a grown man, just starts weeping. He's like, you know, what else? That's what we're commanded to do, to believe in our...
And you know, it's not easy. You know, we have an elected member of Congress, 2 entrepreneurs and CEOs. When I brought you out, I said you're patriots. But we also, I think your stories are so important because other people in this audience are looking and saying, how can I do this? How can I involve? And there is obviously tremendous opportunity for American exceptionalism, again, under this president now. You're thinking about possibly getting into the race, but we know that you've built companies. What do you just say to folks? We're on a live stream here. You have, you know, thousands of people watching. You know, they want to know how I get a credit card loan and start a company and be like you and do that in today's climate where we have the winds of change at our back.
Absolutely. Look, I was raised by a single mother. 19 of my family members worked in an auto plant in Kentucky. My grandparents helped raise me. And I think that one of the things my mother always said, you know, we may not have a lot of money, but it's free to think big, and you should think big.
Amen.
You're going to be thinking anyway, so you might as well be thinking big. And I think we got to get back to that and be the country of dreamers again. And I think Donald Trump has got people in America to get hopeful and get those dreams in action. And that's one of the reasons why I'm looking at this seat. I feel like as somebody I owe so much to my teachers, my pastors, coaches, people have helped me. I got to do something. And, you know, right now we've got 2 candidates that are looking at this race that are puppets of Mitch McConnell.
Right.
And we can't have that.
Well, when it comes to ESG, BlackRock, they've been put on notice, Congressman Moore, and you come up from a family of politicians as well, so you know it's a tough business. DC's a tough town.
Yeah.
Tell us about some of the things that you're working on now that are future forward. I know there's something to do with protecting gun owners' rights, because you can't just stop it when it comes to BlackRock. You know, there's a lot of things that are going on, and you're really kind of clue us into what you're doing.
Yeah, so we dealt with this on the state level in West Virginia. It's called a merchant category code. Maybe some of you have heard of this, but the credit card companies have put this in place to be able to track the purchase of your guns and ammunition in the United States of America. Now, we had put in an ability and a right to sue, cause of action in West Virginia if they shared your data. But I have a bill right now, and I do believe we're going to get action on it, in the United States House of Representatives to ban the merchant category code on guns and ammunition. Thank you. Now, this is a little bit off the ESG topic, but this is, I just wrote an op-ed about this, and I'd encourage you to take a look at it because it's a huge national security issue, and I am looking at legislation on this. There are currently, in the United States, there are 300,000 Chinese nationals on student visas in our country. And I'm looking to ban all student visas from China moving forward.
Amen. Amen.
Glenn, tell us about why you are the best choice, the alternative, because, you know, you're up against the big guys. It's never deterred you. You said your sales, every time they come after you, you kind of soar. But a lot of people would have been maybe not up for the task to go up against the big guys and all the big cellular companies.
Yeah, you know what, I would just say, we're not really up against them. We really aren't. You know, we're the only carrier out there. I won't get into the technical side, but we buy wholesale from all the major networks. We repackage it and sell it retail. And the real beauty of that is we provide a service, and I think it's better. Not only is our coverage better because we have all the networks, but look, we put him first. And when you put him first, what can you do? And then the real hook is when you call into our offices. You know, we have an office in East Texas and in the Valley in California. You either talk with a redneck like me, or you talk with a Californian. And that's the real part. But then above that, it's not uncommon that we'll pray with you on the phone. And it happens all the time. We have a booth downstairs. I'll shamelessly plug Patriot Mobile. Come down. I think we've got promo code CPAC. You get a free month of service. But most importantly, you're going to be working with companies that love and honor their creator. Yeah. And I'm going to just say this. When you do that, it's so much better. You know you're not supporting organizations that are contrary to your values.
Right.
I mean, I know we have Patriot Mobile customers out there. I'm looking at 2 waving and a couple of Hey, everybody in here should be a Patriot Mobile customer.
Can you hear him now?
Hey, that's a good hint, right?
You said you were part of Strive,
Love it.
Nate, and so tell us in the future of, do you think that ESG is dead? Is it all done for now? Or do we have to be vigilant? Because, corporate greed and others that don't have the intention, a pure of heart, which I'm hearing from all of you here on the stage.
Yeah, look, elections have consequences.
Amen.
And we have to have leaders that are going to fight to keep this nonsense and garbage out of our corporate system and out of our economy. It has no place. And I think, we just had, we had an awful thing happen yesterday. Our governor, a Democratic governor, allowed KFC to move out of Kentucky.
So I read about that. I read about that.
And how does that happen? And this goes back to, we've got to elect America first, patriots that are not beholden and on a bended knee to Mitch McConnell or anyone else, but they're going to fight with President Trump and to keep this nonsense out of our politics, period.
I just have a few moments left. That's pressure, and you're right there in the thick of it, AKA they call it the swamp, and they don't say that without reason.
Yeah, well, and to your previous question, I'm sure there's somebody sitting out here right now, and I want this to be kind of hopefully a core memory at some point. Each and every one of you should consider running for office. All of you should think about doing this.
Love it.
I'm serious, because this is not, the seat I'm sitting in is not my seat. It belongs to the people of West Virginia, and they've hired me for 2 years to do it.
Wow.
Any of you can do these jobs. You can stand up, go run. State level politics is awesome. You can get a lot more done there than you can sometimes at the federal level. Please, I encourage everybody to take a look at office.
I told you you'd be impressed, right? Congressman Riley Moore, Glenn Story, CEO Patriot Mobile, Nate Morris, and who knows what type of political future we'll be seeing from you. And
I like this guy back here.
I'm doing my show live here over at our booth at Newsmax, so come by and say hi. I'm Bianca Della Garza. An honor and a blessing to be with all of you great patriots today. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. God bless.
Still under construction, but already the biggest news station in Poland. The only international TV station that interviewed Donald J. Trump.
I'd like to say hello to the Polish people.
Poland's leftist government wants to destroy us, but we are not backing down. We're building conservative, English-speaking European news station. Join the movement. Support the revolution.
Make Europe great again. This is Republica, the home of free speech.
The steal was stopped on Election Day, I think in no small part thanks to Judicial Watch's heavy lifting. In just the last year and a half or two, we've cleaned up 4 million dirty names from the rolls. We also got that huge Fifth Circuit ruling that found counting ballots received after Election Day is unlawful. You can be sure that all helped ensure cleaner elections on Election Day, but there's more work to be done, so be sure to support Judicial Watch's election integrity work.
Hey, we have a great group of sponsors down at CPAC Central. Make sure you go down there, get all the merchandise you need, see all the companies that are fighting the woke crap in the country, hear from our breakout panelists and speakers, hear Steve Bannon, hear everything that's important at CPAC. Get down to CPAC Central today.
I actually started quite a while ago in CPAC, and I enjoyed it so much that I came back for a second one, then a third, then I said, what the hell, let's run for president. Matt said, it's like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. He says, you should run for politics. He's the one who said, you should run.
For the presidency of the United States.
It is my honor to introduce to CPAC 2017 our president, Donald Trump.
First of all, I want to thank Matt Schlapp and his very, very incredible wife and boss, Mercedes, who have been fantastic friends and supporters, and so great when I watch them on television defending me. Nobody has a chance. I love this place. Love you people. You never stop fighting for America, and I will never, ever stop fighting for you. We know that there are still more records to be shattered, new summits to be scaled, more triumphs to be realized, and more amazing history just waiting to be written. The American adventure has only just begun. God bless America, and we will see you next year. Thank you very much. You never stop fighting for America, and I will never, ever stop fighting for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome host of the Michael Knowles Show, Michael Knowles.
Hi. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good to see you. Thank you. Oh, look at this. Look at these beautiful, patriotic, energized. Ooh, I love it. I love being at CPAC. It is always a pleasure to be at CPAC. I felt like an old man when I was thinking about this trip because I first came to CPAC in 2011. And it was fun then, it's been fun ever since, but something feels different this year. Doesn't it? Something. What is it? What is that thing? I don't think that it's just that we won. Because, you know, we won in 2016. Some people say we won in 2020. I'm not going to get into it. But it can't just be that we won. I think the big difference this year is that we won, and we won the popular vote. That was the big difference. Most voters in this country voted for Donald Trump. Huge swaths of every demographic, including groups that Democrats have had a lockdown on for decades. We're talking about an historic proportion of black male voters, almost half of Hispanic voters, something like 50% of women over 45, even, this one really shocked me, 40% of women under the age of 30. That was the most Kamala-y demographic, and we still got that. So many of them voted for Trump and for Republicans in the House and the Senate. It was a clean sweep. It was a clear mandate, and it was a mandate for common sense. That's the only way to explain this broad coalition of people who usually argue with each other. Republicans, disaffected Democrats, conservatives, liberals, people across both sexes and all ages and all races. The Democrats lost the common sense. And their loss is our gain, not only at the ballot box, but also in expanding the political imagination, in opening up the discourse that we can have in our politics. For too long, uniparty elites have limited political discourse to exclude the common sense policies that people actually want. Just look at immigration. For decades, we have been told that we have two choices when it comes to immigration: more illegal immigration or more legal immigration. And sometimes the left and the right, they compromise and they give us both. Great. But it turns out that most Americans do not want more immigration of any kind. Most Americans want drastically less immigration, legal and illegal. Gallup polling last July found 55% of Americans want overall immigration reduced. This backs up another poll from 2018, Harvard-Harris, found that most Americans want annual legal immigration capped at about 500,000. That is about 60% less than the current levels. That is about 85% less than overall immigration levels. That is what most Americans repeatedly have indicated that they want. And it's perfectly reasonable. Today, we have the highest foreign-born percentage of the population that we have ever had in our nation's history. It is not possible for a nation to maintain social cohesion and its own way of life while taking in unlimited numbers of foreigners. There's nothing bigoted about that observation. And yet, until recently, that view, the preference of most Americans, was totally unrepresented by either major political party. Look at the LGBT ideology. In recent years, uniparty elites have told us that we have two options. Either we trans the kids in kindergarten or we wait until they turn 8. Maybe if we're lucky, we can wait until the kids are out of elementary school before the indoctrination begins. What kind of a choice is that? Within the past decade, transgenderism did not exist in public life at all. Not in schools, not in sports leagues, not in bathrooms, not in the military, not anywhere. And things worked a lot better then, and probably we should return to that. To put in perspective just how rapidly this gender-bending LGBT ideology has been forced upon us, consider that Barack Obama, in the final year of his first term as president, held that marriage is the lifelong union of a man and a woman ordered toward the procreation and education of children. Hillary Clinton believed that too. Basically, everybody believed that. Everyone, everywhere, for statistically all of human history, has understood that fact. That is the only definition of marriage that distinguishes it from other kinds of relationships. Marriage was not invented by ideologues, and it cannot be redefined by ideologues either. It is a natural institution. Not even the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court wants to try, but not even they can change that reality. It just is what it is. Nothing bigoted about that observation. It's just a fact. Here's another fact, basic stuff. God exists. Simple. We can know that. Even in our relentlessly secular political order, 81% of Americans believe in God. And you know, that is actually the lowest number ever recorded. Historically, the number is north of 95%. And still, that means that the overwhelming majority of Americans believe in God. And that is because the existence of God can be known with certainty from human reason. But these days, you would not know that, judging by our public institutions. In recent decades, uniparty elites have offered us two options when it comes to religion. Keep it private, or don't keep your religion at all. In public, federal agents spy on our churches. They sue members of religious orders. They imprison parents for praying peaceably outside of abortion mills. Maybe, just maybe, we're permitted to entertain religious thoughts silently in our own minds. But the moment that we start talking about or acting on those ideas in public, we're in trouble. But religion is not just some private privilege. Religion is a public right. Our very country is predicated on the idea that God exists and that we are made in his image. God is in the Declaration of Independence. He's in our national anthem. He's even on our money. The fact that in recent decades, our political class has largely removed God from public life is an aberration and a national scandal, and it needs to be reversed. Now, of course, it's not really possible to remove religion from politics because lawmaking entails moral judgments, whether we're talking about abortion or whether we're talking about parking tickets. Politics requires us to come to certain conclusions about human nature, about justice and mercy, sin and grace. Politics always and everywhere involves rituals and veneration, reward and punishment. These things are inescapable. So when the ideologues remove traditional and true religion from our politics, they can only replace it with their own novel and false religions. They replace Christmas displays with pride parades, sturdy virtues with modern values, faith, hope, and charity with diversity, equity, and inclusion. They ban the Bible from schools, and then they assign gender queer. That is to say, they remove the most important book ever written, the book without which it is not possible to be an educated person, and they replace it with their own neo-Gnostic nonsense. Is it any wonder that our rulers got so stupid? You saw the consequences of taking the Bible out of schools a couple weeks ago when our vice president invoked a basic Christian concept and our political establishment started alternately drooling and shrieking. When he was asked about mass migration, J.D. Vance brought up the order of charity, which is the idea that we owe more to the people closer to us than to people who are further away. This is an observation. It's so obvious. It's articulated in Scripture. It's written about by the great Christian thinkers, but it's also just common sense. It does not take a PhD in philosophy or theology to know that we owe more to our kids than we do to face-tattooed Mexican gangsters. Now, of course, this means that our political leaders owe more to American citizens than they do to foreigners. That's the point J.D. was making. That is the meaning of the phrase America First. It's not that we don't wish to help people around the world. We certainly do. We're the most charitable nation in history. But it is perverse for our political elite constantly to prioritize the whims and desires of foreigners over the needs of citizens. A nation without a proper concern for its own well-being can never, in the long run, be good to anyone else anyway. This is why when we're on the airplane, they say, put your own mask on before you help others. You need to have things in order. For decades, our uniparty elite have told us we have two options when it comes to charity and the common good. We can either erase our national borders, or we can try and fail to build democracies in the Middle East. Or we could do both, I guess. Those were our options. But you know, there's a third option, and it happens to be the option that most Americans want. We can rebuild our own country. We can help our own citizens. Charity, after all, begins at home. We do not have to accept the false dichotomies offered to us by a corrupt political establishment. We can form new coalitions. We can elect new leaders. We can have our country back, and we can even make it great again. Thank you very much.
Newsmax has been terrific.
President Trump is right. Millions are switching to Newsmax. It's the fastest growing streaming service in America. You don't need those woke streaming services anymore. Just get Newsmax Plus. Watch the best shows like Greg Kelly, Rob Schmidt, Greta Van Susteren, and Rob Finnerty.
Greg Kelly over at Newsmax. The Newsmax people have been really, really terrific.
Gain access to exclusive documentaries, series, and special briefings. It's free to start, so go to NewsmaxPlus.com now to sign up and watch Newsmax anytime, anywhere.
Freedom, sovereignty, prosperity. The Patriots for Europe Foundation is on a mission to make Europe great again. Globalist elites have led Europe into a dead-end street. Violent crime has surged because of mass immigration. The Green Deal has put the future of the European economy at risk. Fake NGOs and the massive bureaucracy in Brussels are interfering in our democracies. Patriots must take action. We bring analysis, we organize debates, we build the network of patriots to challenge the woke narrative head on. Patriots for Europe Foundation.
Hey everyone, it's Matt Schlapp with CPAC. You know, CPAC isn't just a conference. We're fighting 365 days a year on all the issues you care about. Please go to your badge. There's a QR code. Check it out and see the different centers we have at CPAC, whether it's fighting anti-Semitism or corporate responsibility or rating members of Congress or state legislators or criminal justice reform. You name it, we're into it, and check it out right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Culture Warriors. Take your truce and shove it. Please welcome CEO and President of Concerned Women for America, Penny Nance. President of American Principles Project, Terry Schilling. And your moderator, Second Vice Chairman of CPAC, Matt Smith.
The fan club is here.
Hey, we're here. Where are my kids?
Well, you need a van for all 10 of them.
All 10 of them. That's
Well, inside joke while we were backstage. Before we get started, though, we want to just thank all the pro-life, pro-family patriots that are here. Please give yourselves applause for being here and making the travel out to Washington, D.C. During this cold winter. We thank you. You know, the name of this panel talks about truces, and CPAC has never called a truce on being pro-life. We've never called a truce on being pro-family. And we've got two of our great allies here today, in Terry and Penny. They're going to talk about some of the progress that's being made since we've got a great pro-life, pro-family president in the White House again. And so to kind of start with that, Penny, we're a month into the presidency. President's been pretty active.
Yes.
What are a few of the things that he's done that get you excited in the pro-life movement?
Well, first off, thank God President Trump won, right? And Concerned Women for America is the nation's largest public policy women's organization, and we are unapologetically pro-life women. And we are not afraid to lead with that. And what a great month it's been, from everything from pro-life people who use their First Amendment rights to, I don't know, sing and pray outside an abortion clinic, being pardoned by our president, as they well should have been. To signing the Mexico City Policy Executive Order, to the Hyde Amendment coming back, and many important things. Mexico City Policy, of course, is about abortions in other countries. And why are we funding all of this? Why are we spending $700 million a year for Planned Parenthood, who's the nation's largest abortion provider, and also giving cross-sex hormones to little kids? Why are we doing that? I think Doge has got a great target right there.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Terry, same question. And for those of you, I mean, I know you guys watch these two great heroes for the pro-life, pro-family movement. Both have been leaders on making sure that girls play girls' sports, that we use the right pronouns when we're describing ourselves and our kids. But Terry, same question to you. Where has President Trump made you proud this first month?
Well, first of all, President Trump is the most pro-family president, period, ever, period. He's done a full blitzkrieg to protect our children and families. Out of the gate, he signed this executive order to protect our children, not just their bodies, but their hearts and minds from this nefarious and evil transgender industry, which, by the way, this transgender industry that's given our kids cross-sex hormones, blocking their puberties, chopping up their body parts and sterilizing them, it's worth $4.5 billion in this country. And we just allow it to go unchecked. And we wonder why we're always talking about it. Well, it's because they're taking that money and they're piling it back into PR campaigns and public relations and pushing it on our kids in schools. But President Trump, out of the gate, signs this amazing executive order to protect our children from this. And it bans the funding of these surgeries. It bans them at any hospitals that accept Medicaid. But also, what was very fascinating to me was it instructed the Department of Justice to investigate any doctors or clinics or companies, pharmaceutical companies, that are pushing transgender surgeries and hormone treatments on minors. And then, by the way, President Trump has been leading on the women's sports fight.
Right.
And it was so cool. Yeah, that's right, he deserves it. But he had this executive order signing ceremony, and I've been involved in this fight for so long. We ran so many campaign ads on this. But in the background of President Trump signing this were all these little girls from all across the country with their jerseys on, their medals, and you could just see how much his work on this fight meant to those girls. And so I'm going to be forever grateful, eternally grateful to President Trump for everything he's done.
Can I just add something to that? Concern Women for America has worked on this issue for 7 years with many others. But President Trump was the first person to sign a presidential pledge to American women and actually follow through. This happened in 2023. I went to Bedminster, go to my Instagram page, you'll see a picture, and he signed it right away. And I don't want to tell you how many other Republicans we had to beg and plead with to get to do it, because he got it at his gut. He looked at, my husband was in the room, and he's like, can you believe I have to sign a pledge that says that there are only 2 genders and only women can be mothers? Like, you know, like, but he gets it at his gut, and we're so deeply grateful because trans ideology has hurt a lot of kids. And we've talked to, I've seen Chloe Cole around this, around the event, around CPAC, many others.
Yeah. So we've had a busy first month. You know, the Vice President talked about some things this morning. Where do we go next? What you know, obviously we got some early victories. He followed through on his promises. Where do we need to go next, whether it's with the president, whether it's working with Congress? You know, what is a great preview, something that our activists that are here can take back home to start working on as kind of like part 2 here with...
Well, I want to say 2 things. Number 1, an executive order only lasts as long as you have the right president in office, right? And we've got to get all of this over the finish line, into law. Congress has to do their job, and then of course the president will sign it into law. So we cannot give up until we actually are able to codify this policy. And the second thing is, the vice president did a great job today talking about like key issues. And I'd like to talk about the issue of marriage, shall we?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's talk about the idea that at this point in our nation, we're not at replacement rate for our children, for our families. We have less people getting married, young people getting married. We have a whole group of young men that are following the evil pathway of Andrew Tate, who's openly in favor of pornography, creating pornography. It is the way of destruction. And I just want to, here on this CPAC stage, repudiate all of that, suggest that although not everybody can get married, not everybody can have children, but it's okay to realize and to state that it's the ideal for a family. And it's healthy for a nation, and it's healthy for people. And about 81% of young people in this country want to be married. But we're down in those numbers, and I would suggest there's some real systemic causes of that we have to deal with.
Well, Penny, I think that one of the major problems in this country with family is that we've allowed all these losers in the media, losers in Hollywood, to tell us what masculinity is, to redefine masculinity. And what they've done is they've defined all masculinity as toxic. So young men have never been more under attack.
That's true.
You know, I'm sure there'll be headlines about, oh, CPAC's saying that men are under attack. They just don't get it. But if you look at being a young man today, you are inundated with pornography, you're inundated with sports betting, you're inundated with all these distractions like weed, and they're things that are distracting you and deceiving you from the really important things like getting married, and finding that special partner that you can spend the rest of your life with. And then even from there, if you get married, now you have hurdles for these young men that don't even want to have kids. We're called to be fathers. I've got 7 kids, right? And I might have taken President Trump's, thank you.
He had 4 the first time he met President Trump.
And he told me, it was funny, we took a picture and President Trump, I didn't know what to say to him. And so going up, I introduced my wife and I said, Mr. President, can you believe that my wife just had her 4th baby? And he says, oh my gosh, she's stunning, which my wife is absolutely beautiful.
She is.
Keep going, don't stop. But being a father, it's the most amazing thing, right? And they get better, every one. But you hold these little babies, and looking up at you is this little vulnerable human being that's looking at you with these eyes that are just drawn to you. And it's the product of the love between you and the other person that you love with all your heart, and now you have something that you love just as much, and you didn't think that was possible. And we have an entire generation of young men who are smoking weed, watching porn, not getting married, not even pursuing women. We have this thing called incels, involuntary celibates. It's terrible, and we can't become a great nation again. We can't make America great again until our men are great again, until our men are strong. And watching porn, doing OnlyFans, recruiting people, making money off of girls on OnlyFans, that's not how to be a man. That's not masculinity. That's some third gender out there that they've invented. And so I don't know. I just think that these young men out here are they're missing out. And I want to bring them back home. We got to inspire these young men for the challenges ahead of them.
Let me say, we're the women's group who love men. And I'm a mother of a son. We need to have great role models for them. And, you know, and I would say those great role models are not the men who monetize women, but it are the men who are faithful husbands. My husband and I have been married 30 years almost. He's been a faithful husband and father to our children, have been a lifelong friend and supported my career. That's what you want, young ladies. And don't sell yourself short and settle for anything less. Any man that doesn't respect you and is not willing to commit to you, don't settle for it. But at the same time, the young men have been undermined, and I think we need to support them and give them the great role models that they deserve, because they'll be happier, is the truth.
And we're talking about changing our culture, and we won an election, but as one of our colleagues in the movement once said to me about 20 years ago, he said, the fight only begins.
That's right.
You win an election, and then the fight, that's when the real fight begins, because that's when you have to start getting things done. What, as kind of in our last few minutes here though, from a we're talking about these concepts, and I have a 15-year-old son, and I spend a lot of time with him. That's one of my biggest responsibilities, is to make sure he comes out right. And I know you feel the same way about yours and your kids. And what can we do? What can we send these folks home with that they can do though to help get this broader culture shift that we're talking about
today? Can I
today?
just add on to that, because you touched on something very important, and that's parents being good parents. It is your top responsibility. It's the most important job I have. And so and parents, it's a difficult world we live in. Utah just passed a bill saying that parents have the right, should be the people that allow children to download apps. Right now, kids can download anything without parental notification. We need to actually help parents have the tools to be better parents, to be able to protect their kids from bad media, from pornography, from all the things that are toxic, that hurt them, and be able to give them a loving, faithful home, and recognizing that, we as a nation are people of faith, and we need to return to that.
Yeah, look, I think that there are some easy things that we can quickly clean up, and there are already movements that are out there that have been growing. So we're up to 26 states that are protecting girls' sports. We're up to 27 states now that have banned these gender procedures, but we're up to 19 states that require age verification to access adult content online. If we can get our young people, Matt, off of porn and get them to 18 where they're dating girls, they're interested in girls, not computer screens and fake stuff online, I think we're gonna have a much brighter future. But again, I think we gotta reach our young men, inspire them. JFK would have been a Republican today, right? I think it's obvious, but in his inaugural address, he said, we do these things as Americans not because they're easy, but because they are hard. Nothing we're doing is ever easy. And we have to inspire young men that's ripe, they want the challenge, and there's no better challenge than being a good husband and a good father. And by the way, spend time with your kids. Like, guys, we're dads. We get to have fun. Like, we get to buy the candy that mom won't want. We get to buy the donuts. We get to throw the kids up in the air way too high, but they're having a blast. So spend time with your kids, even if it's 5 minutes a week or 5 minutes a day. But just make time for it. Prioritize the right things. And it's not weed, it's not OnlyFans, it's not sports betting, it's your family.
And take them to church.
Yeah, go to church.
Penny Nance, Terry Schilling, thank you for being at CPAC again.
Thanks, guys.
wherever human freedom is under attack, in courtrooms, legislatures, and the public square, we stand ready to defend it. This is why Alliance Defending Freedom exists.
Supreme Court victory for a Christian woman who was taken to court for standing firm in her beliefs.
The First Amendment follows a golden rule. If we want to protect speech for ourselves, then we need to protect it for others.
A video released this week by ADF International has attracted over 34 million views and even attracted comment from Elon Musk. It concerned a pair of Swiss parents who've had their child taken away from them because they objected to her gender transition.
We're not just here to stop the erosion of liberty for this moment alone. We are here to keep the door open for the gospel. And when the gospel does its work, truth doesn't just hold its ground. It advances. It sets people free for generations to come. This is our mission at Alliance Defending Freedom.
The only homicide on January 6 was the unlawful shooting death of Ashley Babbitt. This major new lawsuit that Judicial Watch filed, a $30 million wrongful death lawsuit against the United States government. She was unarmed. There were no weapons visible. She was shot in the shoulder and killed by Lieutenant Byrd. He popped out and shot her dead. Ashley was shot in cold blood, and the rule of law requires justice for her.
I started to investigate some programs across the country. The choice was pretty clear when I started to look at the student network, the faculty, and sort of the reputation that the school had. It was a very easy decision for me. I was super interested in the course offerings when I started to look at those. I thought those were very applicable, but very diverse. You know, no matter what field you want to take within politics, there's course offerings for virtually anyone with any sort of career interest. It's not only those, but I think it's the relationships that you build with your fellow students, most of whom are working professionals working in the field of politics, whether that's here in DC or in their home state as an online student.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome President of Patriots Party, Santiago Abascal.
Muchas gracias a todos. Hace un año estaba en esta misma tribuna compartiendo con vosotros las mismas preocupaciones y recibiendo también los mismos desprecios de quienes nos daban por derrotados. Ahora nos toca sonreír porque ese desprecio de quienes se creían todopoderosos e intocables se está convirtiendo en rabia. Rabian porque el mundo ya es distinto. Ya es más parecido a como lo soñábamos hace solo un año. Ya está en retroceso ese plan de miseria y de wokismo que pretendían imponernos. Ya se ha demostrado que el futuro no está escrito. Se ha demostrado que ese futuro puede ser esperanzador y luminoso y que solo hacían falta gobernantes valientes, gobernantes capaces de escuchar a sus pueblos y capaces de cumplir sus promesas. Gracias por permitirme estar de nuevo a vuestro lado para decir esencialmente lo mismo, pero para hacerlo con muchísima más esperanza. Quisiera utilizar esta intervención para responder como español y como europeo al discurso de la semana pasada del vicepresidente Vance en Múnich. Y quiero hacerlo para darle una respuesta firme y contundente. Y la primera palabra de esa respuesta debería ser gracias. Simplemente gracias. Gracias porque Europa necesitaba oír ese discurso y sus líderes necesitaban oír esas verdades, las mismas que ellos tratan de silenciar y de manipular cuando las decimos nosotros. Gracias, vicepresidente Vance, porque ya no pueden seguir despreciando y ocultando la realidad. Pero, sobre todo, porque todo lo que se dijo en Múnich es verdad. Es verdad que enfrentamos una crisis democrática grave. Es verdad que las oligarquías, que no ha votado nadie en Europa, se dedican a tomar decisiones muy perjudiciales para nuestros pueblos sin preguntar nunca a nuestros pueblos. Es verdad que la inmigración masiva promovida por esos mismos oligarcas está destruyendo la convivencia, los servicios públicos y la propia identidad de nuestros pueblos. Es verdad también que de la mano de esa inmigración viene el terrorismo islamista, y no como un fenómeno aislado, sino como una crueldad repetida en Europa, alentada precisamente por quienes pretenden una Europa islamizada, por quienes promueven o toleran tribunales islámicos en nuestras propias ciudades, por quienes han abandonado a las mujeres de Europa, que ven cómo ahora se multiplican las agresiones sexuales. Es verdad también que una mezcla de pacifismo malentendido, de egoísmo, de suicidio y de sumisión, con esa mezcla, los europeos han visto cómo los oligarcas han dejado indefensa a Europa, inseguras sus calles, derruidas sus fronteras e insuficientes sus recursos. Y es verdad, y en eso consiste la crisis democrática, que se roba a los ciudadanos la capacidad de elegir sobre todas esas cuestiones y al mismo tiempo se les roba el dinero de sus bolsillos para pagar todo ese disparate. Esas verdades ya dibujan un escenario muy grave en nuestro continente. Pero hay algo aún más importante. Es verdad que en Europa se está persiguiendo la libertad. En Europa hoy pretenden que todas esas verdades no se puedan denunciar y, por lo tanto, no se puedan remediar los problemas. Las oligarquías europeas están destruyendo todo lo que hizo a Europa grande alguna vez y para ello pretenden liquidar nuestra libertad, que es la columna vertebral de nuestra civilización compartida. Porque Europa es la filosofía griega, el derecho romano y la espiritualidad cristiana. Europa no es la sumisión islamista, ni la ideología woke, ni la cultura de la cancelación. La respuesta a las verdades del barquero del vicepresidente Vance no se hizo esperar por parte de un comisario de la censura. El vicepresidente Vance vino a Europa a decir que Europa ya no acepta la libertad de expresión y la respuesta de un ministro socialista alemán fue: el discurso de Vance es inaceptable. Todo claro. Nosotros, por el contrario, lo aplaudimos y le damos las gracias, porque es verdad que tenemos una civilización compartida y no es la woke, ni tampoco es el manifiesto comunista, aunque demasiadas veces hayamos sufrido esos azotes totalitarios tan semejantes en sus formas. Nuestra civilización es la de la libertad de expresión, la libertad de creación, la libertad económica y la de las raíces cristianas, porque el futuro también está en esas raíces. Y es verdad que si queremos preservar esa civilización debemos cambiar de rumbo. Algunos llevamos mucho tiempo exigiéndolo y algunas naciones ya lo están consiguiendo con grandes resultados electorales. Porque es verdad también que fueron políticos los que tomaron esas decisiones, políticos con nombres y apellidos, y basta con cambiar a esos políticos para cambiar el futuro tenebroso al que nos dirigían. Son esos políticos que ahora están rabiosos los que se empeñan en señalar al presidente Trump como enemigo de Europa porque pone los intereses de los estadounidenses en primer lugar. Esa acusación es algo que solo se le puede ocurrir a quienes han puesto los intereses de sus ciudadanos en el último lugar. Son esos políticos los que ahora pretenden llevarnos al conflicto masivo porque no se atreven a reconocer sus errores. Son esos políticos los que han impuesto a Europa las verdaderas cargas a nuestra economía. No son los aranceles anunciados por Estados Unidos, que ojalá no lleguen. Los verdaderos aranceles a los europeos son el Pacto Verde, los impuestos abusivos y la regulación woke. Esa es nuestra ruina y no nos la ha impuesto nadie desde fuera. La han impuesto políticos en Bruselas en contra de la voluntad de los pueblos europeos. Son los mismos que se reían cuando el presidente Trump hace ya 8 años advertía a Europa de que se estaba poniendo en manos de Rusia al renunciar a la energía fósil. Los mismos que ahora lloraban al oír el discurso de Van, literalmente los mismos, y literalmente lloraban, y todavía lloran. Pero no lloran por los muertos en Ucrania, a la que han utilizado y a la que han engañado, ni lloran por los muertos durante la pandemia, cuyo origen también censuraron. No lloran por las continuas víctimas de los ataques yihadistas. No lloran por nada de eso. No lloran tampoco por todas las oportunidades que han robado a los jóvenes europeos, ni por la inseguridad a la que han condenado a las mujeres europeas. No lloran por la destrucción de las iglesias, ni por los ataques terroristas en los mercadillos navideños. No, no lloran por nada de eso. Lloran y patalean porque su incapacidad, su necedad y su traición ya está a la vista de todo el mundo. Lloraban y todavía lloran porque su negocio, que no es otro que el de enriquecerse vendiendo a Europa, ha llegado a su fin. Entre otras cosas porque la administración Biden, que les llenaba las carteras, se ha terminado. Y con ella se han terminado los millones de dólares que ellos repartían para esparcir sus políticas y sus ideologías absolutamente nefastas. Lloran también porque su tiempo ha terminado. No podemos por ello sentir la más mínima compasión por esas lágrimas de quienes han sido fuertes hasta la crueldad con los débiles y ahora lloriquean ante los argumentos fuertes y verdaderos. Pero tengamos cuidado, al igual que Sánchez en España, los burócratas de Bruselas van a aferrarse a sus sillones con desesperación, quizá porque saben que cuando no se sienten allí tendrán que sentarse en un banquillo delante de un juez. Ahora pretenden llevarnos a la guerra total, los mismos que han dejado a Europa indefensa, destruyendo su industria y su capacidad de generar energía, los mismos que le dieron a Rusia la posibilidad de invadir Ucrania, los mismos que facilitaron la agresión de Putin, condenándonos a la dependencia energética. Ahora el presidente del Gobierno de mi país, Pedro Sánchez, viaja a Kiev, a Ucrania, pero no lo va a hacer para decir a los ucranianos que las bombas que lanza Rusia las paga él mismo. Sí, las paga Sánchez, que le compra a Rusia el doble de gas del que le compraba antes de la guerra. Y con ese dinero que han dado los populares y los socialistas europeos, han financiado también la guerra a Putin. Y por lo tanto hay que deshacerse de esos Napoleones de salón que solo saben provocar guerras, cuyas consecuencias siempre las pagan otros, tanto en términos económicos como en términos materiales. Europa necesita que se vayan esos Napoleones para tener ejércitos fuertes, fronteras inviolables y una industria de defensa. Necesitamos todo eso. Hemos visto precisamente en Israel cuál es la verdadera amenaza que enfrentamos y hemos visto también que solo la firme voluntad de Israel para existir le está permitiendo ganar una guerra que no comenzaron ellos. Europa necesita defenderse de los planes de quienes llevan el terror a nuestras calles y de quienes empujan esos planes. Tiene que defenderse de esas oligarquías o de esos oligarcas disfrazados de filántropos como Soros, porque hace 9 años ese enemigo de nuestra civilización dijo que la Unión Europea debería recibir 1 millón de inmigrantes al año. 9 años después, la Unión Europea ha recibido 9 millones de inmigrantes. Para conseguirlo, no solo ha invertido su dinero a través de sus ONGs y comprando a burócratas, políticos y jueces, también ha invertido el vuestro, el de los contribuyentes americanos y el de los contribuyentes europeos. Creo que es un caso único en la historia en la que a los pueblos se les obliga a pagar de su propio bolsillo la invasión que el propio pueblo padece. Se quejan ahora de Elon Musk porque procura la libertad en las redes sociales y porque tiene la valentía y el derecho de expresar sus opiniones. La realidad es que se quejan porque no quieren que se sepa que ellos han estado a sueldo de Soros y a sueldo de la administración Biden. Solo un último dato de mi país. La primera persona que visitó al corrupto presidente de España, Pedro Sánchez, fue precisamente George Soros, en el Palacio de la Moncloa. Dato publicado y nunca negado por el Gobierno. Sin embargo, nunca han tenido un problema con las injerencias hasta ahora. Son muchas las verdades que el vicepresidente Vance dijo en Múnich y tenemos que empezar a enfrentarlas desde el principio, desde lo más básico. Debemos reconquistar antes que nada las libertades que nos han arrebatado, reconquistar la libertad de expresión, reconquistar la libertad económica, reconquistar la libertad para nuestra industria y para nuestro campo, reconquistar nuestra capacidad para producir energía. Debemos reconquistar también nuestras fronteras, nuestra identidad y la seguridad perdida en nuestras calles. Debemos reconquistar la democracia para todos los ciudadanos y debemos reconquistar la soberanía de las naciones. Y que estén seguros de que vamos a hacerlo, pese a quien pese y cueste lo que cueste, vamos a reconquistar nuestro futuro. La época de las tinieblas está llegando a su fin. Estamos dejando atrás una de las etapas más oscuras del mundo libre. Sonriamos y sigamos luchando, luchando y luchando. Muchas gracias.
In 2025, we find ourselves in a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage on all 3 of the major networks, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
The party is just getting started.
I can't hear you.
Proud posse member. Patriots. Real America's voice.
Thank you very much.
I want to shake your hand.
Days of thunder. Are you having fun at CPAC already?
Creators, it's time to take control. With Bursts, you create impactful content in seconds. Powered by blockchain, your content and earnings are protected, transparent, and yours to control. Play TV isn't just a platform. It's a community of creators building a new future together. Your freedom starts when you press play.
Who's AARP really watching out for these days? They've made billions partnering with big health insurance corporations while opposing reforms seniors want, like applying big discounts to medicines directly at the pharmacy counter. Instead, AARP supports liberal price-setting schemes, giving politicians, not seniors, control over any so-called Medicare savings. With no guarantees, funds won't be spent on unrelated programs or pad big insurers' profits. If AARP and Congress believe America's seniors aren't watching, think again. Paid for by American Commitment.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a conversation with the Ministry for Diaspora Affairs and Combating Anti-Semitism, Amihai Shikli, and host of The Josh Hammer Show, and author of Israel and Civilization, Josh Hammer.
So good afternoon, CPAC. I'm not sure how many of you saw the images this morning, but we do have to start on a somewhat somber note. There were these terrible images of babies being returned in coffins from Gaza to Israel this morning there. And I want to toss it to the Israeli Minister of Diaspora Affairs and Combating Anti-Semitism, Amihai Shikli, is going to lead us in a moment of silence for these deceased hostages.
So we have experienced one of the most toughest days since the beginning of the war. It is an extremely difficult day in Israel with the returning of the bodies of Shiri,